The Warriors are off to a 6-1 start, and they've done it with Steph Curry not being the catalyst thus far. Who has been the most impressive Warrior through 7 games? Let's embrace debate on today's Locked On Dub.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is the good word, everyone? Thanks for making Locked On Warriors your first listen of every day. A lot of ways you can check us out. YouTube, streaming, live after every game, almost every game. You can't say after every game if you're not live after every game, but 95%. And that's what the Warriors win rate is, close to it at this point of the season. Not a math guy. This is Locked On Warriors. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, check us out and take us on the go wherever you get your audio podcast. Today, our episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. My name's Charlie Walter, a transplant to the Bay Area. 95.7 The Game, formerly CBS News Bay Area. Talked about all the teams that you love and fell in love with all the teams that you grew up loving. And one of those guys that grew up in the Bay Area and was a Warriors diehard from the day that he stepped onto this earth is Michael Loginov, NBA analyst, a former college basketball player. And if you're deep into the weeds of high school basketball in the Bay Area, you may remember Loginov logging some minutes for St. Ignatius in the city. Also played some basketball overseas. So good to get a wizard, a basketball mind on the show, man. Not just some talking heads that sit in a chair and yap for a living. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, Chuck. It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure as we meet for the first time. But that's that's a tease for what's ahead, man. We're gonna get you on this show. We had you backstage, and you had good stuff to say. So we're excited, man. On today's show, we're gonna talk about the near 10% MVP. The Warriors, believe it or not, are about 10% into the season. They play 82 games. I always get the baseball, the 163 mixed up. They play 82 games, and the Warriors have already played 7 of them. By the end of this weekend, they're going to be 10% in. The catalyst thus far has not been Steph Curry. So who has been the leader of this Warriors team? We're breaking down player by player who has surprised, who has really no one is disappointed. So who is surprised for the Golden State Warriors? And the gauntlet is here. Why I'm comparing this upcoming stretch to the old Super Smash game on Nintendo 64. You do not want to miss out on that on today's show. So stick around for the entire thing. But let's first talk about the Golden State Warriors entering just a ridiculous stretch of this season. We're going to find a lot out about this team as they start off with the Boston Celtics on Wednesday. I was sitting here thinking about the 10% MVP as we are, a tenth of the way into the season, just about. Who's been the most impressive player? So many names came to mind. And then I thought to myself, I'm overthinking this. The answer is easy. It's the leading scorer at over 21 points per game. It's Buddy Hield, in my opinion. Is that like a fair take at this point in the season? Or are you going with maybe a little wild card that the numbers tell a different story?
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily the numbers telling a different story, but I think by going with Buddy, he's definitely passed the eye test from a scoring perspective. I think he's really stepped up into that second scoring option role that people were looking for and really hoping to find this offseason, Chuck. But when I think about who's really been the MVP for us, I mean, call me crazy, but it's not Steph, but I think it might be the other veteran that we have on the team, Draymond, and just the ability to not only play defense, but to have the offense run through him, the ability for him to hit the outside shot and shoot it confidently and force defenses to have to pick him up, and just the ability for him to really be that anchor. I mean, we saw what he was able to do against Zion in that back-to-back. I mean, that matchup 2 nights in a row, you would think that Zion's going to win that and then we're going to drop one of those games. But the fact that he was able to come back, not on night 1, but on night 2, and to compete and to really just bottle up Zion. We saw how frustrated he was. I think it's got to be Draymond for me so far on who's the MVP this season.
Okay, I'd say kind of agree to disagree. Going back to game 1 of the season when the Warriors looked kind of sluggish to start off against the Blazers, and Buddy Hield comes in, rains a bunch of threes, and he's done it a few times this year to where I feel like he's just consistently shifting momentum. I mean, everything he's done so far is putting them on track to maybe being a dark horse pick to be an NBA All-Star this season. I know it's early. I know there's a lot more that goes into the game than just hitting threes. But, I mean, he's hitting 6 3-pointers seemingly, 6 or 7 seemingly every night or every other night. It's impressive stuff, man. Like, what were your thoughts on Buddy entering the season? Because as you probably know from being a listener of this show, I was down on Buddy. I was like, he can't stick anywhere. There's got to be a reason why, surely. The association knows more than just the Golden State Warriors, but he's fit like a glove, man. It's been perfect.
He's found it's because of our offense, really, that he's been able to really find a place that can utilize him properly. Because, with the Warriors offense, and especially now that we've brought in the Terry Stotts actions and motion as well, it really just plays exactly to his strength. Because we've seen it this year too, right? I mean, let's give Buddy his credit. He's found some opportunities to create for others as well. But we saw it in the Houston game when he's ball handling in high leverage scenarios. I mean, Buddy was also dribbling off his knee, kind of not necessarily handling the pressure well. Even in that Wizards game, he hucked up that three with, the shot clock was going down. And I think Jordan Poole got a finger on it. It was a 24-second violation. So Buddy, when you put him in situations that necessarily may not play to his strengths, and what those strengths are coming off of screens, moving into space, finding opportunities to shoot open shots or come off an off-ball screen. That's where Buddy can really thrive and show his worth. But I think in other situations, even going back to his Sacramento days, we're going to dial back the clock here, Chuck. Those were instances where he was being asked to do too much, right? And in this offense and with this team and with the composition of the team, he's being asked to do what he's really good at. That's shooting threes, that's attacking closeouts when people are coming up with the hand high. And then it's after those attacking those closeouts, being able to find opportunities to create for others in space. So I think Buddy's been fantastic, and that's why he's been able to play so well for us.
Brandon Podziemski only played 13 minutes the last game. As you know, I was a big fan of Podziemski in his game and still am coming in. But in order for him to be the player that I hope he's going to be, he's got to be a sharpshooter. I thought that was part of his repertoire. I still think that he's better than this. Blame the mask. I don't know if you ever wore the mask at your St. Ives days, but maybe it has a little something to do with that, or it's just some rust in the early season. But he's missing good looks consistently, where he's coming off screens. They're, giving him some space. He's let it fly a few feet from behind the line, and he has not hit really any of them. Unless he's wide open, he has not hit many threes whatsoever. But the plus minus tells a different story. It tells you that he's still a very important player on this team. I think he's still like tops in the entire NBA in plus minus. So when Podziemski's on the floor, good things happen. I would imagine, especially as a Bay Area guy, someone that, grew up in the peninsula, you got to respect a little South Bay basketball, a little Santa Clara. Brandon Podziemski coming in, still 21 years of age. What's kind of your take on him through 7 games?
I mean, he's exactly what you described. He's our glue guy, and that's why he's having that great plus.
Elmer's baby. Is he a stick, or is he the?
He's more like super glue. He's more like the gorilla glue. Yeah, because it's his ability to affect the game in different ways and in unique ways. Right. It's the fact that he's doing the little things. He's the first guy to hit the deck. And that means that he's tipping a ball down court that then maybe Kuminga or Wiggins picks up. And yeah, he may not get credit for the steal, but he got dirty and then we scored, right? It's the fact that he's getting those long defensive rebounds, those long offensive rebounds. He has the ability to really kind of get into unique situations and kind of put his defender through the way that Brandon can use his footwork to kind of create and get guys on his hip. And then, he does a head fake and then another head fake and kind of squeezes by. The defense steps up and then he can do a little dump down pass to Looney or to TJD or whoever else is kind of in that the short post there in the dunker spot. And so he has a lot of different elements to his game. And I think even on defense, people don't necessarily look at him as a plus defender. And he's similar to Steph in this regard, I think, where people, I think, actually underestimate his impact on defense because he's always closing out. He's always making that extra closeout. He's always contesting a shot. He's never lazy. He's never not engaged on a play, right? And so he's never caught ball watching. And because of that, he's able to impact the game defensively as well from an on-ball and off-ball perspective. So I hope the shot comes along. He shoots a lot better when he sets his feet and when he finds his rhythm. But we'll see.
Let's talk about this gauntlet coming up when we return on Locked On Warriors. The Dubs started off with the Celtics on Wednesday. If that wasn't difficult enough, they go to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Then on Sunday, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder. The three best team record-wise in basketball going up against one of the top four teams right now, record-wise in basketball. The Golden State Warriors, man. We're going to learn a lot about this team coming up over the next 5-6 days. Let's discuss. Now's a good time to tell you that sometimes intimate moments happen in the bedroom, and they happen spontaneously. So when they do, it's important that you are ready to go because your sex life's important, everyone. SKIMS is changing men's healthcare to you by providing you with access to affordable sexual health treatments from the comfort of your couch. SKIMS provides access to a range of doctor-trusted ED treatments like chewable hard mints, Viagra, and Cialis, and their generics for up to 95% cheaper. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. You just answer a series of questions on the site. A medical provider will determine the right treatment option, and if they prescribe you, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and one low price covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, HIMS can help you find the ED option that works for you. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedonnba. That's hims.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. hims.com/lockedon. The products mentioned are chewable compounded products, which are not approved or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription is required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. Another thing we want to tell you about is Bilt. The folks over at Bilt, it is good stuff. Bilt is real talk, everyone, because we've been there. We felt like we're burning cash with those rent checks. It's frustrating, but here's the deal. Bilt Rewards has figured out a way to make rent more rewarding. Say goodbye to the money bonfire and hello to a renter's revolution with Bilt. Bilt is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program. It hooks you up with points on your rent. Every month, pay your rent, watch the Bilt points roll in. Use points to jet off to a dream vacation. Put your points towards a flight or hotel stay with 500 plus airlines, 700,000 plus hotels and properties. Yes. Yes. You could also use your points to book fitness studio classes. That was Marv Albert. Redeem them towards a future rent payment. They're designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Bilt Rewards app. Your rent game just got a major upgrade. Bilt points have been consistently ranked the highest point value currency by the Points Guy and Bankrate. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbilt.com/lockedonnba. That is joinbilt.com/lockedonnba. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Join built.com/lockedonnba to start earning points with your rent payments today. Show rolls on. So we are about to make a Super Smash comparison to the schedule that's coming up. And I want to make sure that I have the notes here so I do not mess up the levels. But you were a 64 guy, right? Back in the day. We're from the same.
Oh, yeah. We're the same. We're the same generation.
What were you, a Falcon Punch kind of guy?
Oh, I'm a Pikachu guy. Give me the PK Thunder.
You're one of the guys that goes with the quick characters, and just uses that grab button to win games. But anyways, this kind of reminds me of Super Smash Bros. And I had the title as Gauntlet. And there was a video game Gauntlet out there, but I don't think I ever played it. So I can't really tell you much about the game. So I'm thinking, all right, Battle Royale, Super Smash Bros. We just fought 70 Yoshis, a dozen Kirbys. Star Fox got destroyed by his own jet, and Donkey Kong rolled into a barrel, dominated. But man, coming up, we got Samus in the lava. We got frickin' Metal Mario. And then we got to take down the hand. I mean, it is 5 games coming up. It is a slate. Celtics, Cavs, Thunder, Klay Thompson and the Mavericks, Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies. Star power, teams that have won a lot of games, teams that are projected to win a lot of games for all the question marks that you may have about the Warriors based on their schedule thus far, a lot of things are going to be answered in the next couple of weeks. How do you think they'll fare?
I think it's exactly what you just said there, Chuck. We're going to find out a lot about this team. I think that let's kind of look at what we've accomplished and then we can project onto the schedule ahead of time, or what's coming down the pipe. I think what we've proven this year is the fact that, we have an identity, right? And I think we have an identity this season much earlier than we did last year. We're going to shoot threes. We're going to play with pace, and that pace is going to come from our defensive intensity and the way that we fly around, close out, gang rebound, and get out on the break, right?
Hey, don't forget rebounding, man. That was a part of the identity in the 21-22 championship team led by Loon. He's doing it again. He's snatching them.
Exactly. And it comes from everyone out there that's on the floor. We're gang rebounding. That's how we're able to, to be one of the leading teams in the league at that stat. And so I think that's a good thing. And we have that identity, and we're going to be able to project that over these next few games. I think all of these teams kind of present unique challenges for the Warriors. I'm looking at the schedule here with Boston. I mean, they're the defending champs, so they're defending champs for a reason. That's a deep team with a lot of star power. It doesn't look like Jaylen Brown's going to be playing on Wednesday, so that gives us at least a little bit more of a fighter's chance. But the Garden's a tough place to play. They shoot a lot of threes. They're a great perimeter defensive team. That's going to be a really, really challenging game for us. But we're going to learn a lot. All I want to see the Warriors accomplish in that game is fight, stay competitive, and see where we can go from there, right? Because we haven't been necessarily tested by a team that's as good as the Celtics yet.
Obviously, it is a big-time stretch, especially, losing the early game to the Clippers and almost blowing a lead to the Rockets and then taking down some bad teams. It's a stretch to assume that Golden Skate. Sure, the Golden Skate Warriors are gonna, skate right through this thing. But what if they went 4-1 or something like that, lost one of these road games and took care of the rest of business through this 5-game stretch? I mean, how much fun would it be to hop on NBA Countdown and just see all these analysts starting to change their stand? I knew it all along. Stephen A says, I knew it all along. You can't doubt Steph Curry. Just months after saying it's a disgrace what they're doing to Curry, not surrounding him with a second star. That was all the talk in the offseason. I kind of bought into the propaganda as well. Second star. We need more scoring. We need this. We need that. It's been good, man. It's looked nice. To me, it's just a huge stretch to really keep the morale going, to keep your foot on the gas, and to get through. If you can get through this 5-game stretch with a winning record, to me, I know it's early in the season. It's the 10% club. We're not that close to the end. But to me, it feels like, all right, I think we've learned enough about this team that if they can stay healthy, there's no reason why we can't have dreams of completely avoiding any sort of play-in tournament and looking ahead to, win enough games to get home court advantage.
I think you're 100% right on that one, Chuck. It's a matter of this team is pushing to be, I think, realistically, a 5 or a 6 seed getting out of the play-in, right? And what we saw last season in the playoffs was once you get into the playoffs, anything can happen, right? If you think people would have said, oh, yeah, I have Mavs are my pick to make the NBA Finals. They're going to go compete with the Celtics out of the East. The Mavs, I think, were the 6 seed last year, the 5 or the 6 seed. And it just goes to show you can win any series, and playoff basketball is an entirely different brand. The good news, I think, for the Warriors in this composition is the fact that the way the roster is constructed is we have so much depth. If you would have told me that the Warriors are going to be 6-1 through the first 7 games, regardless of the schedule, and Steph Curry only plays 4 of those, and he's not even averaging 20 points a game, I would have said, Chuck, you're crazy. There's no chance that happens, right? But that's what we've seen. We've seen different players step up, whether that's the buddies, whether it's JK, whether it's Moody, whether it's Lindy Waters, right? The 13th guy in our rotation to compete and help us win an NBA game. That's showing us that we have the composition to really stay afloat during the regular season, beat the teams that we should beat, and compete against the ones that are great. And so if we come out of this road trip, I think 1 and 2 out of these next 3, you're going to be pretty happy with that. If you can steal 2, that'd be great. I think we can beat the Thunder. We played them really hard last season. It's an interesting matchup for us. Just
2 best defensive teams in the NBA right now.
Exactly. And so I really think that Oklahoma's a game that we can take. I think we'll surprise them a little bit. And Cleveland will be interesting too, because, I think the Warriors composition and kind of how we're set up this year makes for an interesting matchup, right? Where you can put Draymond on Mobley, and then you can put TJD on Jared Allen. So that size mismatch that we saw last year, Cleveland really exploit. I think we can mitigate that a little bit this year too. So I think out of those three, Cleveland and Oklahoma are probably the two strongest bets for us to steal a couple games on the road.
All right. So the Warriors stole some assistant coaches this offseason. Jerry Stackhouse going from the collegiate level, Terry Stotts. Last in Portland, where did they take him from? What bench did they take him from in the offseason?
That's one I don't recall. He was most recently head coach in Portland. I know that.
In Portland.
And,
Yep.
And
for sure.
He was the head coach for Dame and CJ, and that's when they were making their runs and kind of competing with us a little bit.
The way that they've instilled their culture, the way that the Warriors have responded to it, extremely impressive. What players have impressed us thus far that, maybe aren't getting as much love? I got news for you, and I'll give you a little tease. It's a guy from Indiana. It's a player that went near the very end of the draft. We talked about him a bit yesterday. How good has Trace Jackson Davis been? It's all coming up on Locked On Warriors. Let me tell you about one of my favorite apps out there. It is the Game Time app. Procrastinators, go ahead and rejoice. This one is for you. You no longer have to buy your tickets 2 weeks in advance. You no longer have to have your significant other say, did you get the tickets yet? Of course I got the tickets. No, I don't have the tickets yet, but I have the Game Time app. And the longer that I wait, sweetheart, the cheaper the tickets are going to get. So, of course, I'm going to wait until as we arrive. I just put it in there, and I can see panoramic views from my seat in the app before you buy. 360, all your surroundings. Also, the lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. So the Golden State Warriors, we mentioned that impressive players. Curry's obviously always impressive when he has played this season. Not too many crazy flurries that we've come used to, but based on what he did in the summer in the Olympics, it's always the calm before the storm. It's always the darkest before the dawn. Curry's going to be just fine. Podziemski, we mentioned he's not really missing the threes. Are really not making the threes that he made a season ago. Kuminga, he's attacking. When he's been in certain lineups that require the proper spacing for him, I think he's really flourished, and Kerr and company did a nice job realizing that early and bringing him off the bench and not sticking with that super big lineup that they started the season with, because it didn't work in game one, and so far it has seemed to work the opposite way, where Kuminga's coming off the bench. So Draymond, so impressive thus far. Buddy Hield, my MVP. Draymond, your MVP, 10% of the season, 10% of the way into this season. But how about a player that is kind of overlooked right now, but has been really, really good? Sixth on the team in scoring right now, and doing it in just 18 and a half minutes per game. I think he needs more run. But Looney's been playing well too, so they give him kind of the split minutes. Looney's getting 16. But it's Trace Jackson Davis. He's averaging 9.5 points, 5 boards, a couple of assists, half a block per game, and a 6-0 or a 6 assist to turnover ratio. His field goal percentage right now, I don't have it in front of me, but it's incredible, whatever it is, because all he's doing is dunking. I do have it in front of me, and it is 73% from the floor.
Second in the NBA.
Second in the NBA. So you will take that from Trace Jackson Davis. We kind of talked about it on yesterday's show. Kolsky alluded to the fact that, there may have been some family ties to Trace Jackson Davis, which made him wound up in the Bay Area. But your thoughts, why did so many people pass up on this guy? He has really looked good since the minute he's had opportunities. I mean, maybe never a sensational talent, a superstar. He's someone that his ceiling is not one of the best centers in the league, but I think he can be very, very solid for a long time in this game.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. That's why people pass up on him, right? Is they don't necessarily see someone that could be a generational talent or that could be a top player in the NBA, and so you're more willing to take a swing at a dynamic wing who has great athleticism and is looking to add different components of their game, like a jump shot or better ball handling. Whereas with the big man, a lot of times people think that okay, well, when they come out of college, especially Trace at his age, that they're coming out fully baked and that the game's kind of limited and there might be only some minor tweaks here and there that they can make. But for the people that watched Indiana basketball while he was there, they got to see the entire offense really run through TJD, and I think that's what's been really encouraging to see. You mentioned that stat, 6-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, which is fantastic coming from your starting center, and we've seen it happen in really interesting ways because he's putting the ball on the deck a little bit. He's taking dribbles, he's reading back doors, he's making great passes to cutters, and he's much more poised. Chuck, if you remember last year in that playing game, Steve Kerr started him against the Kings, and I mean it was not pretty. He looked like a baby giraffe out there, like a chicken with his head cut off, and the moment got to him. He wasn't poised in the moment, and I think he played the first 2.5 minutes, had a couple turnovers, and had a short leash, and Steve put him on the bench the rest of the game. This year, we're seeing him really be poised in that spot, getting the ball at the top of the key, making reads within the offense, and making the right read. Finding Steph for backdoor cuts to get easy layups. It's been great to see, and I think he's really not been getting enough praise from local media and from national media too.
Let's give him the praise right now, man. I mean, this is son of Dale Davis. We forget that sometime. I mean, a tough son of a B. And Trace Jackson Davis is the same way. He's quiet, right? His temperament, you don't really see a lot of emotion out of him at all times. When you do, he can be pretty fiery. But he's a soft-spoken guy for the most part, from what we see of him. But we don't see a ton of him because he's not the featured guy that's coming up to the podiums. But he affects this game in a big-time way. I would like to see more than 16 minutes. But then when Loon's getting the rebounds, there's no way to play the two together. So, I mean, at this point, it's kind of just you ride the hot hand in that game. You have both for foul trouble situations. But would you do anything different if you were on that bench?
I mean, it's tough because it depends on the sorts of lineups and centers that you're playing against, right? I mean, Valanciunas, I'd rather have Loon go up against Valanciunas and really battle against him, right? A Jokic, I'd probably rather have Loon go up against him. But when you're playing against someone like Jared Allen, throw TJD in there, right? When you have a little bit of that level of verticality to the game, which is something that Trace has really brought back to the Warriors offense. And it's something, that we didn't really see with Looney, right? Because all those, instead of it being an alley-oop and an easy bucket, a lot of times,
catch, layup.
Pump fake, dribble, pump fake, throw the hip in, and then layup, right? And so TJD brings that dynamic, and we're running some great sets for him. We're putting him in positions where he can succeed. So I think it's just going to be matchup dependent, and that's the glory of the roster that we have. If we're playing an athletic big, TJD. If it's a big bruiser, Loon. And it's going to be great to watch TJD eventually grow into the ability to play both and to match up against both types.
I'm going to give you the floor here because this is a podcast that has a staunch audience full of Moses Moody fans. I mean, it is insane to me how the Warriors can start off 6-1 in a season. I mean, where's Moody? It's like they're 6-1. He's playing. He's scoring. He has a good role on this team. You locked him up. He's a Warrior for a long time. Like let's settle down on the Moody talk. But we saw him in the preseason when he gets his opportunities. He can flat out score. What are your thoughts on like Moses Moody's role right now? You think he's underutilized? Do you think he's just about right? Like, how's the porch taste? Too warm? Too cold?
I think it's just about right. I think it's
just Goldilocks. It's just about right. I'd tease you up for that one.
And I don't say that to take the easy way out. I think Moody's really, and you can go back to some of the stuff that I've talked about with Kerry on KMBR and whatnot. I was not bullish on Moody. I thought the contract that he signed was great, but I was really skeptical because in previous seasons, his catch and shoot three, he'd bring that ball down to his waist every single time. And that half second in the NBA is not a half second that you can give up. And that's why he was missing a lot of those shots. That's why he struggled on catch and shoot and was actually better off the bounce if you look at the splits. And this year, what we're seeing is Moody coming off screens, and that release, that half second in quickness is making a huge difference. He's knocking them down. The defenders can't get their hands up. They can't contest him as well. And so I think he's really, really impressed me. His grit, defensive intensity, and energy was always there. But now he's able to affect the game really consistently and effectively on the offensive end as well. So I'm all in on Moody this year.
It's funny because I've seen so many people talk about how he's such a reliable ball handler, and just watching Moody, that seems like one of the weaknesses of his game. Like, I don't feel 1,000% comfortable or really comfortable at all if Moody is your main creator or someone that you put the ball in his hands and say, put it on the deck and make things happen. When you watch him, do you see that being a big time part of his game, or is that like his biggest weakness that he would need to work on to be someone that can get over the 25-minute mark per game and really be a big time contributor? Because that's the thing. It's November 5th, 6th, 7th, depending on when you're listening to the show. There is a lot of season to go. There is plenty of time for Moses Moody to work his way up the roster and steal some spots here. I mean, there are minutes, guys like Gary Payton II, who's getting, maybe 9-10 minutes a game. Moody could steal them all if he balls out. Trades can happen to where 3-for-1s or 2-for-1s or whatever can happen and free up some play for Moses Moody there. He can outplay Lindy Waters, quite frankly, and take the now 15, 13 minutes that Lindy Waters has been getting per game. So there is opportunity for Moses Moody. What does he need to do to secure a spot this season? Or is it just, hey, he's still super young, let's take it year by year with him?
I think it's exactly that. It's super young, take it year by year with Moody. I don't think, frankly, in the current composition of the Warriors roster, he's not going to be the creator. I think it's going to be his job to attack closeouts and to attack when he has an advantage. But if you're telling me Moody's going to be pounding the ball up top to try and find and create, then I would say something's gone wrong in that set, and it's probably 4 seconds left, and he's trying to get a pick and roll from someone to get some sort of space and some sort of an advantage. Because with our ball handlers of Steph, Melton, Draymond, Kyle Anderson, Brandon, right? Those are the guys that are going to be offensive initiators, and Moody's done a great job of playing in space and playing his role this season. And I want to see him keep doing that. If we make a trade that consolidates the roster even more so, if you can keep Moody and Lindy Waters, I mean, those are some pretty good role players as well. So I'm happy with what I've seen so far from Moody.
All right, everyone. Michael Loginov, the former St. Ignatius basketball player, Bay Area through and through, NBA analyst. You can catch him with Kerry Crowley from time to time on KNBR. That's actually who gave me the plug and said, this guy knows his hoop. He comes on. He's down to earth. You don't even have to meet him beforehand. I'll just pop on. You guys will rip out a 33-minute show like you've been boys for years. So appreciate it, man. Go Dubs. And let's have you on again here soon.
Looking forward to it, Chuck. Thanks a lot.
Locked On Warriors, free and available wherever you get your audio podcast. Check us out on YouTube and give us a like. We appreciate it, everyone. 5-star review, please. Thank you.